Thanks, Sam, and Happy New Year to everybody. And I don't think this announcement really comes as a surprise to anybody that knows our club really well. But before I get into Q, I do want to congratulate his entire family, not only Matt, but Chris, George, and Leo. I think when you look back to going into 2023, as a family, they made a commitment to Kansas City by moving to Kansas City, becoming part of our community, being active in our community. So the extension for Q is a reflection on his family and everything they've done in Kansas City outside of baseball, and we're certainly appreciative of their efforts as well. Um, I think the bottom line is we believe we have one of the best managers in the game. You look at the work he's really completed over the last 3 years; it's really exceptional. And 2023 was a difficult year, but I think what we saw was Q's poise, his leadership skills, that I think eventually led to the turnaround in 2024, and where he finished runner-up manager of the year. In our opinion, he should have been manager of the year, but we don't decide those things. But really, we can make the case that the work he did in 25 was even more impactful than 24, simply because we had more adversities, more challenges in 25. And when we look up and reflect on 25, while we're disappointed, we were competitive until the end of the season. We were fighting for a playoff spot right up until the last week of the season. It's for that reason that I say, Q probably did a better job in 25 than 24. And the other things that Q does really well, he develops great relationships, not only with our players, with our coaches, with our front office. I think it's really important that the relationship that our front office has with Q is really strong, which I can confirm that it is. He understands the vision of the organization, the vision of ownership, and he carries that on through to our coaching staff and our players. And I think even more importantly, when we try to think about what makes good managers and good leaders, they're not afraid to ask questions. And I think Q's inquisitiveness, his curiosity, not only with the front office, but our pro scouts, our development guys, is next to none. And he asks a lot of great questions. He's challenging in a very healthy way. And I think that's why we've been able to have such a great working relationship. But even when we think about our team where it is right now, stability is important to the organization. And I think what Q's done over these last 3 years and looking at our roster for the coming years, I think it's important that stability in the managerial position is in place. And with Q, we have a lot of trust in what he does. We know he's the right man for the job, and we're proud to have him back for the coming years. So, Q, congratulations. Chris, congratulations. We're looking forward to it.
Thanks, JJ. Thanks everybody for being here too. As JJ said, and Sam said, it's exciting for us. And I think it was important for Chris and I to be on here together for the reasons that JJ said. But first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Sherman, Brooks, JJ, Scott, the entire organization for taking this, affording us this opportunity to continue to manage the Royals. It's definitely an honor, and it's not a responsibility that I take for granted or take lightly in any way. I'm honored to work alongside so many great coaches, so many great staff members. It really truly is, the organization continues to grow, and it's truly a full team effort in all aspects of baseball operations. Major league staff, minor league staff, pro and amateur scouting, international operations, every aspect of the organization, we try to work as closely as we can, and that's what makes it fun and challenging. And even not on the baseball ops side, we've had such a good time getting to know the business side, the Royals Foundation people, and just the community at large. Um, and above all, I have to thank the players. They're the ones that ultimately, without them, none of us have these jobs. And, it was funny talking to some of them yesterday. Obviously, you would guess Vinny would have something funny to say. He congratulated me, and then he said, "You're welcome." So, it's when they perform that things like this happen to people like me. So I definitely don't take that for granted. I learned a long time ago that without those players, none of us have these opportunities. So like JJ, my family is grateful to be here, and we are truly all in this together. And like Sam said, Chris wants to say a couple things.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. If you know me, I always like to say a couple things. JJ, just to, piggyback on what you said, yeah, this was a pretty huge emotional leap for our family, and we really wondered how we were going to be received in the Midwest, being New York natives. And when we approached this, we had three top priorities. Obviously, having winning seasons, but also on a human level, schools were super important. And what neighborhood were we going to raise our kids in? So that was my job. I think I did a great job doing that. But in all sincerity, can't tell you how much we appreciate the warmth from the staff when we go to every game at the K, from parking to getting our tickets in and to finding our seats. So the K has just been like a second home to us. And with regard to the schools, truly, the schools here are phenomenal. We feel so grateful for the elementary school our boys attend. And finally, the neighborhood. We really have some of the best neighbors and friends anybody could ask for. So, we hit the trifecta here with winning seasons, great schools, great neighborhood, and we really thank you for, letting us continue such prosperity and such good fortune in our lives, in our world. So, honestly, thank you to the staff, the players, to everybody staring at me right now. So, I'm gonna tap out there.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Q. Go to questions. Annie Rogers.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. Q, when you think back to when you were hired and to where you are today, it's been 3 years, but bye, Chris. Um, how are you different as a person and a manager? And really, what have you learned like over these last 3 years?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, I mean, I think you never know what the job is going to entail until you're in it. And I feel really fortunate that I was prepared as well as I think I could have been from learning from some other really great managers and Tito and Cash and even Joe Madden, a little bit I was around him in the front office in Tampa was and Cleveland were both very welcoming to me and exposed me to a lot. But until you're in the decisive seat and working day in and day out with JJ and Scott and um, I don't know what I didn't know at the time because that's a while ago, and I think I think things were a blur, especially in that first year. But I think the biggest thing is understanding the scope of the job and understanding how many different people, when you think you have the connections down that you need in the organization, there's something else you need to do. There's someone else you need to talk to. There's somebody else you have to consider their opinion. Um, and I think that's probably the thing that I've grown the most in is understanding when you think you have an answer, look somewhere else. When you think you have a decision finalized, look somewhere else and get somebody else's opinion before you need to do it. And it takes legwork, it takes time, but it's extremely rewarding. And I think that's how you keep people engaged and feeling valued in what they do.
And JJ, for you, when you hired Q, you laid out all of the traits that you thought you were getting. Now, 3 years later, in what ways have you seen him change? Has he taught you guys? You kind of mentioned that in your opening statement, but if you could just elaborate a little bit on like what you've learned from him and how you've seen him grow as a manager that has ultimately, allowed you to commit to him for longer.
Yeah, I'll say that, our conversations, particularly after a game, have evolved. I mean, early on, it was a matter of how do we just stay competitive. But the questions that he'll ask after the game, I think myself and the others that are in that room, we know we need to become locked and loaded because he's going to ask you some challenging questions, and then he's going to ask you more the next day, which in turn causes us to be more prepared. That's what you want. You want somebody that'll push you. But I think the nature of his questions have changed over the years. Early on, it was more about how can we get better in our processes, Then it turned into a little bit more game management. How can we get better in our game management skills? And really, it goes through different evolutions. We go from, all right, now let's focus on fundamentals. What else can we do to tweak these processes? But I think it's the constant curiosity that he has that allows us to get better as an organization, but is also his inclusivity with different departments. I think is outstanding. I've never worked with somebody in that position that's as interested in hearing what other people have to say as he is. And I think that allows him to continue to grow and why he continues to grow as a manager. So I think that just that constant evolution, it just gets deeper and deeper as he gains confidence and we gain confidence as an organization. We can challenge ourselves in different ways. And again, going back to the questions that Q tends to ask, I think that leads us in that direction.
All right, Pete.
Hey, Q, first off, congratulations.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, so this would have been the last year of your contract. Does this just give you comfort knowing that you don't have to think about that at all, or was that not something that would have been on your mind?
Yeah, I don't know if it would have been on my mind. And truthfully, last year in the winter when JJ said, "Hey, we're going to pick up your option for 26," that was not on my mind at the time. So I don't generally approach it that way, that I'm worried about what the next year or the following year is going to bring, because I truly love what I'm doing. And, I think I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I'm doing. So it isn't something that consumes me, but at the same time, for my family to know that we have some stability. Now, I know in this game, there's varying levels of stability, right? In professional sports, things change in a hurry, but I feel really confident in the people that I work with and the organization to know that this is somewhere we want to commit to. And it's somewhere that I think that's as important to the organization too, to know that they have someone and a family that really wants to be here and desires this position as much as they've shown the interest in having me. So, that's truly a team effort. But the short answer is I don't think it would have been on my mind all that much, but I'm definitely happy that it doesn't need to be at all.
Hey, Chris had mentioned about this area, how much you guys love it. Which side of the state line do you live on? I don't need to know what city, but
We're in Kansas.
okay. And what did you tell Vinny when he took credit?
I just laughed. I mean, you count on Vinny for being, having something fun and smart to say all the time. But it did. It dawned on me yesterday as I started getting texts from current and former players, and it's truly like they're congratulating me, but I need to be thanking them, for the work that they've done, because that's what allows me to do my job. And we've been very fortunate. I know we've talked about 23 being a tough year, but there was a lot of hard work and groundwork that was laid that year by a lot of important people, player wise. And, I think that's important to recognize. But, it didn't surprise me when Vinny said that. We just got a good laugh out of it.
And last thing for me is this either for you or JJ. So you're locked in. How about Alec and Brian and the other coaches? Are they also signed up for that long or not?
Yeah, I won't disclose the years, but they're under contract for an extended period of time.
Thank you.
All right, Todd Lebo.
Hey Q, congratulations. Also, I remember that I think the day you got hired, you didn't know much about Kansas City other than, going to the ballpark and back and forth. I think you'd been to a game at Allen Fieldhouse or something like that. What have you learned about the town, and just kind of what you like about it, not just the baseball part, but everything else about Kansas City?
Todd, honestly, we were really surprised. Like the first day we got here, I remember it was mid-December. It was freezing cold. We were staying at a hotel before, getting into the house. But as we drove around, actually, JJ's wife drove us around to look at neighborhoods and stuff. And we were just really, um, it was just such a warm feeling. Like, just the neighborhoods, the people we ran into, that was long before anybody knew who any of us were or anything. But we just felt really welcome. And now that we've been here more, there's a ton of culture. There's a lot of activities for our kids. As Chris talked about, the schools have been great. The neighborhood has been phenomenal. Not only the friends that we've made through our kids, but just our neighbors that either don't have kids or have older kids. Everybody's just been extremely welcoming. So all of those things go into saying just it's just been a really, really easy transition for us and a place that we really feel like we can be long term.
And I mean, it's barely January now. I know the off season's been going for a while. Are you ready to get to Arizona? I mean, what's your excitement level for getting after this year?
Yeah, I mean that's why we do it, right? I mean January is an interesting month because you're getting ready to leave your family for a long run, and it's a long grinding season, but at the same time this is why we do it. So as the calendar hits January, you start thinking of like you start having more and more conversations with the staff on spring training and on how we're going to approach things. And so each day ticks off a little bit more and you want to make sure you're prepared. But yes, definitely an exciting time. And I think we've done some fun things this off season to put ourselves in a really good position to be a really good team.
And for JJ, as you guys are heading here, what more activity can there be as far as acquisitions go? Anything rolling around there? People talking to you about trades? What's it been like during this part of the old hot stove?
Yeah, it always takes a little bit of a dip, between Christmas and New Year's, but there's still been ongoing conversations about acquisitions of players. But as we said after I think our last trade, we're in a position that we'll continue to try to make our team better. I don't know what shape or size or form that'll come in, or what position that'll be. But there's going to be activity through the month of January and into February. So we're just going to stay on top of it. And if there's a way that we can make our team better, we're going to try to capitalize. We do like the moves that we've made thus far. We think we've raised the floor of our team, and we know that we're going to continue to mature as a team. And we got a couple young bats that we're counting on as well that could really impact how this season goes. So we're in a better spot than when we ended the season. We've managed to keep all of our pitching so far. That's a great thing. As always, you want pitching, but we'll just see what January and February brings. It's a long time until opening day. We got 3 full months until opening day, so we'll see what can happen. But I can tell you that we'll continue to look to make the team better.
All right, Annie.
JJ mentioned 2025, and the adversity that you guys faced throughout that, but you're still able to finish with a winning record. Could you elaborate a little bit on just what the season was like, with everything that you guys had to go through, and how maybe that made you better as a manager, or what you learned from that, what you might take from this past year into next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think adversity is something that comes in every season, right? And it comes in different forms. This year it was mostly injury based, to the pitching staff, which is not an easy thing to overcome. But I think, it dawned on me, one of those conversations we were having after a game one night, and, we were going through the injuries on our big league staff. And then you look down and most of the guys that we had considered to be our depth pieces were also injured, whether that was Kyle Wright or Luinder Avila, Steven Zobak, all those guys were injured at the same time. So that was really probably one of the more challenging times as that like kind of smacked me in the face, like, all right, how do we navigate this? And that takes the whole organization. That's where pro scouting and international, everybody gets involved in trying to help the big league team. So I think that's part of the reason I said what I said earlier about understanding that when you think you have a certain process in place, you got to keep looking to how to improve that process. And I think that's what that did for us this year is we dug into even more of pro scouting and what processes were in place for how we were acquiring guys that went to Omaha that became our depth, or even to Northwest Arkansas that became our depth. And I think that's going to help us moving forward. So, I completely expect us to have more adversity this year. That's just the norm. And I think our processes are better built to handle those now.
Matt Foster.
Hey Q, congrats on the contract extension. I'm not asking you to predict the future, but how well positioned is this club for the next several years moving forward? Having Bobby locked up, having Michael locked up, having some young guys coming up like Carter, and like Jack. And how
It's
excited as the manager are you to have those type of guys to coach?
Yeah, it's certainly exciting, and every time you think you have enough, you need more, right? And that's one of the things we say to the players all the time. You can never have enough players playing well at any one time, and that, this is a game that doesn't always respond to your timetable, right? Whether that's mine or certain players, you just have to keep yourself ready, and continue to approach it in that one day at a time mentality. And I think the more that our guys have understood that, the young players have developed in that in that way, I think that positions us to be more successful and endure some of the challenges of a long season. So, but I'm extremely excited. I mean, these guys knowing what they're doing now in the off season to improve, their skills, their body, their mind. I think we have a really good group of guys that are singularly motivated to continue to win.
Annie, you got one more?
Yeah, I just want to check JJ, and this is a little off topic, but since we have you checked in with your players in Venezuela at all after what happened over the weekend, and just an update on that?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. Yeah, that was alarming in the sense that we knew we had a lot of players that were currently in Venezuela. Obviously, the reports were there were no casualties, so you felt good about that. But just the overall safety. But Jose Aguisil is in Venezuela right now. He managed this winter ball, and he's been in contact with players. But myself and others have also via text, some phone calls. We've confirmed everybody's fine. Everybody's healthy, not harmed. Families are fine. So thank you for asking that. But yeah, they're all safe, and we've been in contact with them.
Do you know how many players you have in the country right now?
On the major league side, it's three. I believe it's three. I'm not exactly sure how many on the minor league side, but we have people that have been reaching out to the guys in the minor leagues as well.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Congrats again, Q, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.